Live from Utah's Wasatch Front, the pulse of the Mountain West, where the issues that shape your life meet the truth that sets you free. Across Utah, across the Republic, and around the world, welcome. This is KMMU.
I think I might have lost Mr. Producer. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. Anyway, this is Goud. Welcome to the Goud Crowd. Obviously I'm your host since my name is Goud and the show is called the Goud Crowd. So today we're gonna talk about. Oh, you back, Mr. Producer? I didn't know if I lost.
Sorry, it got stuck. It was weird. I was trying to click off of it and bring you in, and it just kept wanting to restart. So
that's pretty funny. I was
anyway,
like, should I do anything?
It's all yours. Go ahead.
Thanks. Okay, so we'll talk data centers. We'll talk about the farm bill that just passed, where they actually had a MAHA amendment to remove some bad provisions from it. Although I'll be honest with you, I'm not even sure that the whole farm bill is really good if you want market, like a free market in farming. We don't have that. I mean, it's surprising. You know, if you look across the board, and I'm not attacking farmers, I'm more attacking, this is the point about government, is every industry that they touch and they start to subsidize and they start to regulate with bills, they just mess it all up. And I just wonder if there's something to be said for trying to free ourselves, like all industries, of government interventions. So, you know, for the medical industry, we have the whole Obamacare thing, and that's just made a massive mess of our healthcare system. Then if you go to the farm bill, like through subsidies, they actually kind of they push certain crops, and they're making all these decisions. And I'm not really sure that it's the government that should make those decisions and and trying to direct certain crops to be grown versus allowing the markets to work, allowing farmers to make their own decisions. And then there may be, because I think farming is kind of a particular industry. I have a friend, we're still friends, but she grew up in Kansas, and she told me that one of the issues with farming is kind of the need to have fields lay fallow for a while. And so some of the subsidies are to make that happen so that you're allowing the soil to recover and stuff. So if there's some need to be able to have the government help with that, maybe you find a better way to do it that's not directing that everyone's growing certain types of crops. And instead is saying, you grow what you want, and we'll kind of help you with dealing with the economic hit from not producing on some land. But anyway, that's a story for a different day. Let's start. Box Elder County looks like there's a lot going on over there. As we talked about, did we talk about it last week? I can't remember. But they're proposing the largest data center in the entire world in Box Elder County. They're saying that it would they'll have power plants on it that'll produce more power by 2 times, so twice as much power as the entire state of Utah currently produces. It'll be from natural gas, and so the site it runs by a natural gas line. And they had a hearing last week. It looks like their meeting room was full, and then they had to postpone it. So they have it going on now, and it's going on the Box Elder Fairgrounds. I thought, let's take a look at this thread. It's kind of interesting. So I will say, I think the meeting right now is stopped. So there were a few of these. So basically, they started the meeting. You have the 3 commissioners there. 2 of them are actually up for election this year. And what I find bizarre about this is that there's no public comment. So they didn't have public comment last week. They're not having public comment this week, but they're planning to approve it, is what they've said. So I don't understand why you're having meetings without public comment. I mean, if anything, if you are an elected official and you're going to make a decision about a huge project or anything really, you should have public comment. That's a very basic. And I think stuff like this can cause really bad blowback. And there are multiple examples of Republican seats flipping to Democrats over data centers and this type of stuff here, where you don't allow people to make public comments. So this is dangerous stuff. We're actually heading in a really bad direction, because I think some of these Republicans don't get it. Okay, so now I'll just add. The commissioners say, hey, no shouting, no catcalling. I mean, that's all pretty standard stuff. And that they would remove people if they were shouting. Now, some of the stuff here, they want all. He also said, or one of them, that if people were rowdy, they would go and have a private meeting about the facility, which I think is weird too, and I guess broadcast it. And then they're asking people to just submit comments that are supportive. Now, I'll note that they said that they've received 2,500 responses, including hundreds of comments from Box Elder County residents. They said they reviewed the comment and that many comments support the project, which, by the way, in a project like this, you're going to have people on both sides. So I'm not surprised by that. I actually think that's very normal. They claim they have not decided yet, and they are committed to getting the process right, to have time to do due diligence and communicate with residents. And that's a good thing. But if they approve it today, that means that whole process is dead because it's approved. Now let's go down. There's a couple pieces here I thought were interesting. Okay. They have so they hired a private attorney, but the Box Elder County Commission hired a private attorney to help them. And he says that MIDA functions as a municipality and functions as a city. So MIDA is the Military Installation Development Authority. It's this like government agency that does operate, which is, I think is interesting. We'll talk about this more later, but it operates as a government, but it does not have elections for its board members. So we basically have a quasi-governmental agency now making land use decisions without any accountability at all. Now, a couple of the people on the board are elected officials, so I guess you could vote them out. So for example, President Adams is on there, and I would encourage people to vote him out anyway, because he did pass a law protecting his rapist granddaughter from having to face consequences for what she did. And so I think you should vote him out just for that. But then also, if you're upset about this project, another way to start targeting this is to go after the people on the MIDA board that are elected officials, and he's one of them. The second thing that I thought was interesting is it says they've been working on an interlocal agreement between the county and MIDA. The areas the county has been looking at, what county is able to provide, and making sure county receives financial benefits MIDA has promised. Now, this was on the agenda of the county commission, I think 2 weeks ago, but they don't actually have a draft of it on their website. So I emailed the county clerk, I think it was yesterday, and I asked, hey, can I get a copy of this? It's on your agenda on the county commission's agenda for 2 weeks ago, but there's no copy of it available on the website, which I think is weird because, you know, even like if Salt Lake County does this and they're going to vote on some sort of agreement, they should release it ahead of time so that we can look at it, right, as members of the public. And then if we want to comment on it, we can comment on it. But if you don't put it out there, it makes it difficult to actually analyze it and decide what issues you have with that, with the agreement when you're trying to go up and make comment. So anyway, I just thought this was a really interesting thread. And then if you go to the bottom, let's see here. I think it's here. I think, yeah, so the commissioners have left the podium, and I guess people are still there, but that part is done. I guess people are being too rowdy, so they decided to leave. Okay, next, let's look at this one. There was something else I wanted to look at. Hold on. Now I will say this. So I found, or actually not me, Jen Garner actually sent me something where Governor Cox had a meeting with Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, in January. And I'll play this in a little while, but then Mr. Wonderful went on some news show and he said he had come here to talk about power generation, which is a little bit different. He didn't talk about the AI data center part in that interview, but let's say that these discussions started in January, we're in May. That is an extremely fast time frame to develop a project like this. And I just wonder, like, what kind of due diligence are you even able to do in that short of a time period for a project of this scale? I just don't think it's possible to do it. Like, there's just no way. And I posted about this earlier, but I'll show you guys, because actually at the last meeting that they had, a representative of MIDA actually said that the project is not fully developed yet. Like, there's actually open issues. Here, okay, let me just share this with you. Okay, here we go.
Things they talk about with these data centers is
this is from a week ago.
yeah, I actually, there was one other thing. I did some research. One of the things they talk about with these data centers is, especially the ones with natural gas and even some with solar, that they actually are using battery backups to generate energy or to store energy so that they can use it during off hours. And I guess with the natural gas, I've heard that they actually up to 1 gigawatt of natural battery backup so that they can cycle and reduce the amount of pollution or whatever would come from the natural gas generators by using batteries on occasion. Is that something that is being looked at in this project? Or
I just noticed it's actually playing pretty good today.
But the power gen that's producing for the data center, it's this third-party company that has these really good solutions that have really the lowest I've seen impact on air quality and the zero water solutions. They'll be deciding on what those backup sources will be. There is a diesel fuel line that goes through the site. I'm not sure if that will come into play as a resource for backup energy to have diesel generators as a possibility. But yeah, there's also the possibility of maintaining a bunch of extra natural gas on site in silos so that if anything were to happen to the pipeline, then they still have that reservoir to rely on. So I have not heard anything of batteries. The design isn't fully finished, but yeah, that's not.
Okay. So first of all, if they have diesel generators, that's going to make a mess if they run those things pollution-wise for the area. The second piece is, though, he just notes that the design is not fully finished yet. So I don't understand how you can approve a project if they haven't even come to you with a completed design. And I would think something like this that would actually be completed, because there's all sorts of logistics and planning that you're going to have to do in order to build it out over a multi-year period. So I'm a little bit confused by that personally. And so I do think it actually raises a lot of questions. So that was one thing. Now let me show you one other piece of this, and this was Mike Carey posted it. And I thought this was interesting because I think he actually consults with data centers that are part of Project Stargate. And that is Trump's initiative, I guess, to build these data centers everywhere. Oh, here. Okay. So here we go. Okay. So when this project came out, Mike said 40,000 acres, 9 gigawatts. I'm involved with the Stargate program nationally, have been for 15 months. Why isn't this on my radar? Is there another global investment bank that has an additional 100 billion to plunk down on top of the 500 billion already from SoftBank? Highly unlikely. This is a land play and they need a hype machine. Utah sure loves its bandwagons. Now, he also posted saying that he's not opposed to data centers. I mean, obviously, he's on Project Stargate, so, but having said that, he's pointing to a different issue that isn't really coming up as much, and that is the financing piece. And I have heard this theory out there that a lot of the data center proposals are really just land and water grabs in red areas. And the reason people are saying that is because there's a couple factors at play here. One is, I think this is me speaking as someone who's not technical, so I've read about it. But, China came out with that DeepSeek AI, and apparently it's much more efficient in terms of how much it uses in computer resources in order to produce the output. And so there's some thought that as what is it called? As AI develops, it will become more efficient and it will use less computing resources. So I read an article yesterday saying that China's actually built all these data centers, but they're finding that they don't need them as much because AI is becoming more efficient as it develops. So that's one part of this. The second piece is the financing piece that Mike pointed out. I don't know if there is going to actually be financing for all of this stuff. The reality is that I don't think our economy is doing very well. So people can say what they want, but I really think we were kind of maybe heading in a better direction. And this Iran war with the massive spike in gas prices, and all the other disruptions that it is beginning to cause, I do not think that the economy is doing well. And I'm not sure that all the financing is actually going to come through for these data centers that are being proposed all over the country. And so what happens when they don't build it, but they've gotten the approvals to change agricultural land to industrial land? They have purchased these water rights, and they have all sorts of other backing. Well, you now have the land, they own the land, they own the water, and they can do different things with it. And typically, these are not owned by people that actually like the values that Utahns espouse, right? And that's actually one of my biggest issues is we're being asked in the name of national security to give up our land, give up our water, allow these people to come in and develop these massive centers that also cause, by the way, lots of noise pollution and light pollution. So they're putting it out in a place like Box Elder County. It will create light pollution. So if you're up in Tremonton and you can see the stars at night, but this is close by, you can say goodbye to that. It's not going to happen. It'll completely destroy your dark skies and kind of the quality of life up there. Because if you go and you read about these, everywhere that they build them, there are issues with water, there's issues with noise, issues with light. And I don't know why. And also issues with electricity prices skyrocketing. Now, Utah has kind of, from the bill I read, it sounds like Utah has allowed an option where these companies can build their own generation, hoping to kind of address that. And maybe that will work. I don't know. But those other pieces of it are the same everywhere. And we should try to learn from what other people have gone through and see if it's actually worth it here. But I will say one of the things I've learned after living here for 6 years, because I moved here in 2020, is that Utahns always think that things will be different here. So they'll look at another state, whatever the proposal has been a complete disaster in that other state, and then they'll turn around and they'll say here, oh, it'll be different here. Typically I think it's because the elected officials are LDS, and they think because they're LDS, they'll somehow make a better decision than somebody somewhere else. But those people are the exact same. They're still humans. They still are, and I think a lot of the ones that are in office are getting enticed to approve these types of projects with like incentives for the state, incentives for themselves. I think there's a lot of pressure. For example, in this Box Elder County Commission, I think there's a lot of pressure from the governor's office, from the people that really want economic development on those three commissioners. So and there'll be all sorts of things that they use to entice them, and they maybe one or more of them wants to withstand it, but that's a lot of pressure that they're dealing with. So I just think we have to be more cognizant of that if it's bad everywhere else, it's not going to be good here, even if the people in power are people that you think are better. It doesn't change the quality of the proposal itself. Okay, so let's see. So then the other piece of this that I think is kind of interesting is the MIDA piece. So MIDA is, like I said, Military Installation Development Authority, and the Salt Lake Trib actually did a pretty good article on this. So let me pull that up for you. And this isn't. Okay, here we go. This development, if you look in the upper left-hand corner, I think this is over by Sundance, and it's a big resort. And actually, they've been advertising this. I'm in the Guard, so they've been advertising that you can go there for like a discounted rate if you're if you're active in the Guard, reserves, retired, or a DoD employee. But I'll just tell you, I looked at it and it didn't strike me as cheap at all. So I was like, I don't know what the discount is, but it's not a lot. It is not a lot. So, but they have, if you look at this article, it says the board is made up of members appointed by legislative leaders and local governments, appointed by legislative leaders. So it's got 8 board members. I think actually 5 are appointed by the governor. 1 is appointed by the Senate president, and 1 is appointed by the House, the Speaker of the House. And local governments are not guaranteed a role in the process. So it depends on what types of land are actually included in the project that's being proposed. So for example, the one up in Box Elder County, the reason why the Box Elder County Commission is involved is because it involves private land. Otherwise, based on the article, it sounds like they actually would not have any input into that project at all. So the board, it says, does solicit public feedback, but in the past has done so after voting. And I'll add, I actually went onto their website this weekend because I thought, I'll try to listen to any hearings or meetings that they had about the Stratos project in Box Elder County. It looks like anyone can attend the meetings, and they had it typically over Zoom, but they don't actually post the video of the meeting right away. So I was looking and I didn't see any video. So I sent an email requesting to be able to see them, but that strikes me as not very transparent, right? Like when you have a meeting, post the video so we can look at it. Now for the Stratos project, and then it says, besides showing up to meetings to voice displeasure, there's not much that regular folks can do once a project area exists. So it's almost like a super government. They're able to take land and then control it, and there's no accountability except, again, like President Adams is on the board, and so you can get him out of office. That's the main control point. Now for the project in Box Elder County, supporters say the center would generate around 2,000 jobs after construction ends and bring in millions in tax revenue, while opponents are concerned about the impact on the area's environment and quality of life. So that's kind of what we're dealing with in terms of the project point. And I want to add, I understand this. They go to kind of rural areas where there is, I think, an economic problem. A lot of it, though, has to do with immigration, which a lot of the local residents of those areas, they support it. So if you had a true free market in labor, you would actually have to shut off immigration into the country, and then that would cause wages to go up. Because what's happening right now is every single job that where it's possible, they're importing foreigners to do it. So we have our doctors, we import doctors. I don't even know why we do that, because the doctors that are trained here are better. So it's weird to go and import foreign doctors. Then so that's like your high end, right? You have H-1B visas that come in the tech industry. The tech industry is full of foreigners. I mean, it's chock full of foreigners working in our companies on what are supposed to be temporary visas. And so you've got all the professional jobs taken. Then when you get into the working class jobs, construction, full of illegals. Tourism, full of illegals. Restaurants, full of illegals. Then you got farming. Farming has all these programs to be able to bring in cheap foreign labor. And what the farmers say is, nobody wants to work here. That's the story, right? And last week I talked about this, but the sheep ranchers say nobody wants to do these jobs. I know multiple people, by the way, who could do it, who grew up here. Ironically, they're all gay, but they grew up on ranches, riding horses, understand animal husbandry. Maybe we're doing in the cows instead of the sheep, but they're able, you would obviously be able to train someone like that to go and take sheep out into a mountain. but they're not going to do it for $2,134.41 a month. No American's going to do that job for that salary. And I think that hurts our rural areas that we allow that, because it suppresses all their wages. So they're I get it. Like, they're actually like, we want jobs. We want better jobs than what we have. We are hoping, so I'm sure in Box Elder County, the people that are supporting this are saying, okay, we'll get 2,000 jobs out of this. That's something. We don't have enough jobs here. Okay, I mean, look, we have to acknowledge that that's a problem. So then you look at it though, and so, you know, I look at this from the Salt Lake County perspective, and I can tell you what this would look like here. The construction industry is full of illegal aliens. It is dominated by them. I've had multiple people contact me and tell me that when you apply for a job at a construction company, they actually tell you that you have to speak Spanish to work there. So they're saying, like, we need you to be bilingual because we have so many illegal aliens working on our projects. Those companies are the ones that are going to come up to Box Elder County to build your Stratos project. It will be full of illegals. Like, you will not get the benefits that you think out of that. With the 2,000 permanent jobs, I 100% guarantee you that they will import workers for that too. And so the fine Groyper says, unpopular opinion, but with the right term, I would probably support the data center. Okay, that's fine. But then the question is, like, how do you get that right term? Like, what are the right terms? I would say one thing you could do is say that you have to hire American citizens for the jobs on the construction and as well as the permanent jobs. And so now what you've done is you're actually trying to make the economic development benefit your local residents, and maybe with a preference, frankly, for people that actually live in Box Elder County. Because if you're going to have to give up your dark skies and you're going to have to give up, you have a lot of noise. I'm very noise sensitive. So when I was looking for a house in 2020, it got to the point where literally I'd go through a real estate agent, I'd be at the door and I'd be like, okay, I can hear road noise. This isn't going to work. And so I live in Riverton, but if you come to my house, it's actually pretty quiet where I'm at, because that's really important to me. So I would not tolerate anyone trying to build anything like this by my house. But if you're okay with that, then, and you want to tolerate, that's fine, but you should get something in return. And you need to start demanding that you get those things and not be ashamed of it. Because, you know, they're trying to come in and take your land and take your water and use your resources, and you should get something in return for that. So let me see. I had something, and here's the other piece of it. They're actually going to give this big tax incentives. I'm just trying to find this. Give me 1 second. I have it here somewhere. I swear. Okay, let's see. Is it this one? Money taxes, maybe. Oh, here. Okay. So here are the tax incentives. Oops. Because I think this is important as well. Okay. So according to this, and I think I've seen most of this, I've seen actually reported as well. So their energy use tax, we all have to pay 6%. So small businesses, regular Utahns are paying 6%, a 6% energy use tax. And this project only has to pay 0.5%. So they're getting a massive tax decrease for their use. Personal property tax. So we'll be spending or paying sales tax, I think, on the computers and the equipment that you buy. 0%. They don't have to pay any of it. So we're giving them a special benefit that other small businesses are not getting. And then real property tax, they get an 80% rebate. So really, Box Elder County ends up getting a tiny fraction of what they should get. Now, there's some people that'll argue and say, oh, you know, of course we have to give them tax benefits. Otherwise, why would they develop here? Well, there's not a lot of places that actually want that project. This is I think, contrary to what people are thinking, most people don't actually want this in their areas, because they're looking at what's happening in other places and they're saying, I don't want that project around here. I don't support it. and I don't want my tax money going to it. For some reason, Utah, we just want to keep going down this path, but there's no reason to give these benefits. And actually, you shouldn't, because what you're doing is you're actually hurting your small businesses because you don't give them the same benefits. What would be better is for if we just had low taxes, a stable regulatory environment, and then we just let the market do its thing. Let our economy grow organically without the government constantly trying to attract certain types of businesses into the state. And they do this all the time. It's like a full-time job for these people, is to run around grifting and trying to bring businesses into the state. And typically they're businesses that don't even support our values. And let me just think about it. In 2020, the tech companies all spent their time, first of all, censoring people who are telling the truth about COVID and the COVID vaccination and the treatments for COVID. They censored us when we talked about how the Democrats stole the 2020 election. Do you remember that? They're still censoring us to this day. I mean, do you think you have free speech on Facebook or YouTube? Of course not. And so what we're being asked to do, and Google, all of their search results are, they use an algorithm to try to get people to become Democrats. So everything about it is, it's all these companies that I hate. I hate them. They hate me. And I hate them back. And nothing has been fixed. You know what? That's one of the biggest disappointments of the Trump administration is he knows all of these things and how negatively it impacted normal everyday people. And he's done nothing to get these tech companies under control. In fact, he's invited them into his White House, which I just find offensive. You know, there's probably hundreds of thousands of people that were killed or injured because of the misinformation that Facebook spread all over the place about COVID and the COVID vaccination. They haven't had to pay any sort of consequence for that. And in fact, they get invited to the White House. Facebook, the founder, Zuckerberg, he helped steal the 2020 election. He actually sent money all over the place, including to Utah County and Cache County, okay, in 2020, to get them to do certain things. I don't think it had the same impact here, but still, that was the goal, right? They were trying to steal elections by changing the rules, by loosening the rules on mail ballots, and all sorts of stuff. So why would I want to support companies like this? We're being told it's for national security, but do you really think that the AI that they're developing is going to benefit you in some great way? I mean, it's obviously going to be tilted to the leftist viewpoint. It's probably going to make us all dumber because, you know, I think it puts, like, just like when you go onto X or any social media site, or when you read the news, you kind of have to do it with a critical eye because they tell you fake information, they lie all the time. And I think AI is going to be just like that, the same exact issue of fake news. So I just wonder, like, why would I want to support, why are we so desperate for my tax money to go to companies that hate me? And by the way, in terms of hiring, they don't even like hiring conservatives. Like, what tech company is hiring conservatives? If they hire you and they figure out that you're conservative, they'll actually discriminate against you until they can fire you and get you out of there. So again, I don't even think that they want to hire local residents in Box Elder County. These are not good companies. They don't like you. And that's part of what bothers me about it. Is like, they say it's a national security issue. I'm like, I don't know what the national security issue is. The entire thing is for private companies who are developing, who are desperate to develop this just like AI that can, you know, do everything on its own. And, you know, I guess it bothers me. I don't understand it. And if someone could explain to me what the point of this is, I would love to hear it. But, you know, like, and here's the other piece. They also keep telling everybody 50% of the jobs are going to be gone, right? I heard Tucker Carlson talking about this the other day, and then they don't tell you any solution. They just, oh, hey, you guys, we're going to have AGI, generative intelligence, and then 50% of the jobs are going to be gone. And you're like, how is that a good thing? Somebody, for the love of God, tell me why it's a good thing. And maybe an elected official could step up and help me understand what they're going to do if we lose 50% of the jobs. You know, and I know Elon Musk thinks he's going to send everybody a check, right? And that somehow is going to make things better. But I'm like, we saw what happened in COVID. It actually, like, I have friends. So I'm a lawyer. And so when the whole COVID thing happened, they shut down and they sent us home to work, but we still had to work. I mean, obviously it was still kind of sucked because you're locked in your home and whatnot. And I remember actually, I lived in Dallas at the time with my ex, and we used to go every single day in the evening, and we'd go across the street and hang out in this. There was like these green belts in Dallas with all our neighbors and stuff, and have some drinks, have the dogs hang out. It was actually pretty fun. But I just think, like, when you think about it, it was not a productive time. People were not home, finding new hobbies or developing new talents. For the most part, people were home drinking, watching TV, and doing nothing productive. And so that's what we're heading towards if 50% of the jobs are gone. But we're not heading towards a positive, wonderful new world. We're heading towards something much worse. Anyway, so Caroline teaches math. So the data centers are like socialism. It'll be different this time. Yeah, right. Disagree butter. Box Elder Commission was booed out of the room and are now doing the meeting remotely. I thought that I didn't understand why they had the meeting with no public comment. Like, what was the point of the meeting? Have public comment. This is part of the problem here, is they don't understand. You can actually kind of, let people release their viewpoints and talk and stuff and listen. And that relieves a lot of the tension. But if they had like 600 people, the room was full. It was like 600 people, I think I saw somewhere. They said it was standing room only. Why wouldn't you then just have public comment? Because you have all these people there and let them talk about it. Caroline teaches math. Zuckerberg may have spent more for 2020 elections than Musk did in 2024. No, seriously, I think he might have. Disagree better. They just approved it and got booed harder. Yeah, okay. See, so that means the cake was baked when they started the meeting. And what I think is kind of interesting is 2 of them are actually up for election. So if you look, there have been multiple examples, all across the country of Republicans losing races over this issue, and even in red areas. And so people think, I'm just going to tell you right now, the Republican Party is generally wrong on this issue, and it's because they're following Trump's lead. Trump did not run on building data centers everywhere. This is something that came up after the election and after he went into office, and I don't know why this became a big thing. I don't know why it needs government subsidies. I don't know why the government needs to push it. I don't know why it needed an executive order, and I don't know why the federal government keeps trying to override all sorts of local regulations on this. It's like, stay out of our areas. Like, let local issues be handled by local politicians, and they just don't want to do that. And so that trickles down, though, because then you'll hear from people, oh, Trump has this executive order. And I'm just, my view is, I am not, and I don't mean this in a bad way, I am not a sycophant. I will never be a sycophant. And I'm definitely not one for Trump. Oh, it says add to stream. Is that you, Mr. Producer? Okay.
Sorry, I got bounced out and it bounced me back in. So.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I was like, oh, did I just let someone random in? Because have you seen, did I tell you I was in this meeting once? It was when they were talking about bailing out the banks in Utah. And this woman, Sunny Washington, was running it. I think it was Sunny. And people kept porn bombing the meeting. It was so awkward. So like a Zoom person would join, and then suddenly they'd start playing porn. It was, it's like, this is so weird. Anyway, I'm terrified of that happening. Okay. Let me show you guys this. This is in Virginia. And I think Virginia actually is having real issues. They've got a lot of data centers in Virginia. It's impacting water, and electricity rates have skyrocketed. And so this guy, let's see what his name is, John McAuliffe, the one on the left here, he's a Democrat, and he beat the one on the right. Now, I will just say that clearly the guy on the left is like younger, better looking, but I don't think that necessarily drives politics. just something to keep in mind. But he did win he actually ended up flipping the seat from Republican to Democrat. It's a Republican stronghold in Virginia, so it's notable. And the entire race, I guess it hinged on data centers. He linked the data centers to rising electricity rates. And there was a second piece of this. Oh, and then he accused his opponent of selling out to lobbyists. So think about this. Think about that theme. And that's not the only place this has happened. I remember there was a race in Georgia for they have some public utilities commission. Also, a Democrat flipped a race from Republican to Democrat, again, based on data centers and opposition to data centers. I just don't think this is a popular issue. And I think there's bipartisan opposition to this across the board. And this is kind of an interesting thing. There are these issues that are very bipartisan where you see the left and right coming together and opposing these really powerful lobbies. And then the party kind of faithful, or these people that will just do whatever the party says, opposing that kind of groundswell, that grassroots groundswell. And I think that's always dangerous because you'll probably end up losing. Like the people that are pushing those bad policies, at some point they'll lose. So here's another one. In Oklahoma, a data center, a city council approved a data center. And then the residents actually went and started collecting signatures to recall all the council members. So now I think that actually I read an update and that ultimately they collected the signatures, but during verification, it dropped below what they needed. So they were not successful at the recall, but I'm going to tell you that I don't know that these people will survive the re-election races, right? Like there's blowback happening from this. I don't think Utah is going to be any different. Maybe it will be, I'm not sure, but I suspect that actually there will be blowback for stuff like this because I don't think people want this stuff. Now, we have a few of these data centers that have been approved in the state. One of them is actually in Delta. Although, give me one sec. Let me just make sure. Okay. Yeah, one of them is in Delta. So let me show you this. The Delta Giga site. So this one actually confused me a little bit. So this is in Delta, Utah. You can kind of see it's a huge site, right? But this says it'll have, I think, less than 10 gigawatts of power capacity. So it's gonna, I think, does that mean less with a little caret thing like that? I think so. And they're constructing it. It's a huge center. I will say, and you can see all the solar panels around it. Do you see that? So they're going to have, I think I read 30,000 acres of solar panels are around it right now. So because they're trying to be green. And then, give me one second here. I just messed up my order. Okay. Yeah, there's 30,000 acres of solar panels because they're trying to be green. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. You know, to me, I'm kind of like not into the green stuff, but because it kind of seems like you're destroying all this land for no purpose. So kind of doesn't make sense to me. And then also there's going to be, I think, noise issues here. I'm trying to find where I have this. Oh, here. Okay. I'll tell you. They had a prediction or calculation of how much noise this thing will create. So the amount, when it's done, it's supposed to cause the noise of 400 idling semi-trucks 24 hours a day. The other piece is, and so I don't know, like, do you want to live by something like that? And people out there might be okay with it. I wouldn't want to. The other thing is I wasn't able to figure out how much water the facility will actually use. This one was, the proponent was Jewel Capital Partners. And I got a copy of the ordinance approving the change of zoning. So it used to be agricultural land. They changed it to industrial. And then I reached out to Jewel Capital Partners and asked them how much water that this will take. And they never responded to me. And I emailed them a couple times. They said it's a closed loop system, but I I think we need to know how much water they're using. And we have to make a determination if this is a good use of water or not. I think that's the thing that I haven't been able to grasp. Like, to me, it doesn't seem like a good use, but some people think it is. I think there are better uses out there. And overall, like, here's the thing. I think we need to focus more on humanity and the human experience. And that's been missing generally in Utah. I see these things all the time where politicians will get up and they'll say stuff like, oh, you should get married early and have lots of kids. And I think to myself, okay, well, I mean, obviously that doesn't apply to me, but I understand the sentiment, but I don't think our policies actually encourage that. So if you are a young Utahn, you're probably hearing that and thinking, okay, so housing's not cheap in Utah at all. It's actually very expensive. The jobs aren't paying well and the wages are suppressed. I can't get a job in construction. I can't get a job in factories because they're full of illegals. I can't get a job at a restaurant. The tech companies are importing H-1Bs. Everything I have to go and I have to compete with illegals and foreign labor. And the wages aren't high enough. And the reason the wages aren't high enough is because we are constantly letting companies use illegal labor or import labor instead of allowing a true free market, which to me would mean close borders, get rid of all the illegals, get rid of all the temporary visa workers, and then you have a free market for labor. And you just let the company's wages will have to rise in order to meet. So you haven't actually created the policy framework for people to be able to have lots of kids. And as I said, a lot of times the people saying it are rich. So they don't even understand. It's like, to me, I just hear it and I'm like, this sounds ridiculous. You're telling people to have lots of kids. You're a multimillionaire. So obviously for you, it's different. But for most people, it may not work out. And so what are you saying? Like, have 5 kids, you won't have a house because, well, okay, you won't have a house. You may not have a job because, 50% of the job is supposed to go away in like 5 years. And so what does that future look like? And is that something you want to gamble? And so what are we doing to make it better so that people can go and they can actually live that life? And then they can also make the choice, which I think a lot of them want to do, of just having one person work. Because you hear this a lot, the plurality of couples say and I think, honestly, I think if the option was there, it would be the majority of couples. It would quickly flip because both people are working not because they want to, but because they have to. And I would rather it be a want. So, meaning you could do it if you want to, but if you want to stay home and take care of your kids, you can make a sufficient income with one person working, and then the other person can stay home and take care of the kids. And that would be like, isn't that the world that we want? We don't have it. And especially for someone, if you want people to have lots of kids, daycare is expensive, by the way, as it should be, because they're taking care of your kids. So that's obviously going to cost a little bit of money. I don't know that you want someone charging you $50 for daycare because probably not going to be good quality. And so when you think about it that way, instead of trying to subsidize daycare, why don't we make it easier for them to stay home? Because if you have 5 kids, I don't even know that you should be working, right? Because it's probably more economical for you to actually be able to stay home and take care of your kids. 5 kids is a lot of kids. Anyway, I mean that's just kind of, we need to. I don't think we have a vision of like what the future is supposed to look like. Right now, the whole thing just looks dystopian to me. We're gonna have AI. We have these ugly data centers everywhere, taking up all the water, taking up the land, with people actually talking like this is a better use of land than just like making, food, farming, small businesses. That's the other thing that should be more of a focus, because what we do, and this is every state, but Utah does it too. And I think it's actually it's ruining the culture, right? Because what we do is we say, instead of that stable, low taxes, stable regulatory environment, and then you just let companies grow, and you let companies that want to move here, but you don't run around trying to entice companies to move here. What you end up with is a more organic economy where it grows naturally. And then you end up with more local owned companies that may be smaller, but they also reflect your local values. So, because when you import these companies, one of the things you find is they're very much pro the trans agenda. They're the biggest proponents of it are all companies that came here from out of state. They bring in people who support that same agenda. They want to have abortions all over the place. And so they promote those types of causes, and that pollutes your local culture, the thing that makes you different, the things that make you better. It's better to have those local companies grow. It's better to encourage that versus all this, grifting, trying to bring in companies that hate your values. It's a very strange thing. So let's see. The fine Groiper says, okay, that is awesome. I think he's saying that to the approval. Are you saying that to the approval or to the booing? Water usage is a big concern. It is a big concern. It really is. And I will say, Mike Carey posted this thing saying that water use of these newer facilities is much lower than the old ones. And I don't have a full sense of this. It's actually difficult to pin down the actual numbers because I think you have to remember there's going to be a number for the data center and for the cooling piece of that. And then there's going to be a separate number for the power plants, depending on how those are built. So you actually have to add all of that together to figure out what the water use is going to be and then figure out if it's worth it or not. And like I said, I don't have an answer to this. To me, it doesn't seem worth it. I think some people would argue that it is. And then he said, the fine Groiper says, I think we need tariffs to a strong industrial policy. Oh, yeah, 100%. I agree with tariffs. I mean, the reason you need tariffs is because American workers should not have to compete with slave labor in China. That's not fair. And so you really you cannot have people here who have to make more money in order to live be competing against Chinese workers who literally get locked in a factory and hardly get paid anything, or Indian workers who get paid a fraction of what we get paid. And so those tariffs are a way to make sure that you're equalizing the markets and making it easier to have an industry in your own country. But I agree with that 100%. Okay, then there's another, and so the Delta one got approved last year. That's under construction. I should have shown you. They have I thought their website's actually very nice, so you can kind of see. I'll show you some things I noticed that were kind of interesting, but I'm going to be a little bit woke for a minute. Okay, so they have all their little milestones on here you can check out. Then the campus size, how they're going to power it. This was the 30,000 acres of solar, which I do not think is a good idea. And then let's go to their team. Okay, I'm gonna be woke for a second, but so there. I just want you to notice what everybody looks like. Oh, wow. I will note, if you're interested, I think they have jobs here. Let's see, I saw them somewhere on here. Maybe it says, oh yeah, join the team. They're hiring across engineering, operations, and business development. So if anyone's looking for a job, you can move to Delta. Okay. The other one that was proposed is Cedar City has a data center proposal going as well. It's another big one. And this one also had a lot of people show up to their meeting. It was just in April. Let's see how many people they had. This one but this one's going slower, I think, because they had an informational meeting. And I will say that shows kind of maybe the impact of MIDA. MIDA pushed that through very quickly, and I think there's a lot of pressure. This one in Cedar City, it seems a little bit different. So they had 110 people show up for an Iron County Planning Commission meeting. I'm guessing that this is not normal. They got 37 pages of written comments in 2 weeks before the hearing. And opponents raised concerns about air quality, night lighting, electricity demand, and the project's overall water footprint. Now, the night lighting piece is interesting because I've seen some photos of data centers and they do produce a lot of night light. And so if you're down in Iron County, you're probably near Zion. and you're thinking like, okay, we have dark skies. That's part of the entire appeal of people coming here, and you're worried about how that will be impacted by this data center. And I guess, is the Cedar City data center the Beryl, Utah data center, or is it another one? Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. Here, I'll Google it real quick. Let's see here. Cedar City data center, Beryl. I wonder if they're the same thing. Let's see. Well, when I Google it, it's coming up with the exact same one. So maybe it's the same one. It's the name of it is the Antelope Data Center. Is that the one that's going to be that you've heard in Beryl? And okay, by the way, they had 3 hours of public comment at the Iron County Planning Commission. So just contrast, right? The Box Elder County, no public comment. They had 3 hours at Iron County. So people will feel like they're more part of the decision. So if you're and if you think about it from that perspective, if people are going to be part of the decision, you need to have public comment periods, and it can't be just that they comment and then you vote on it. You actually have to take time with these things and have multiple meetings and stuff like that. But you can see like that one didn't really have that. So I think in that case, the cat was in the bag. They already knew what they're going to do. The rest of it was just an act. Okay, let me see if I have anything else on data centers. I just said, and overall, like I said, I don't think these are really something we should be having in Utah. We don't need them. They need us. And that's how we should approach it. But I don't think this is a good use of our land, of our water, and I don't think they're worth the noise and the light pollution that they create. And I don't think the companies are the types that we want to attract because they don't even like us. And I just wish more Utahns would pick up on that. Like, stop trying to attract companies here that hate you and hate your values. And instead, do things that encourage your local economy to grow, your local businesses to grow, and for people to have more small businesses. That's a way better way to have more independence and to make it so people can live the life that they want. And this whole I'm going to go work for a tech company, and the tech company is going to tell me what I have to think, and they're going to tell me what gender or pronouns I have to use for some tranny that I have to work with. That doesn't work. That's not a Utah thing. So that's my message to everybody. Let's focus more on our local companies, our local economy, and stop trying to attract companies that hate us. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, and then I had a couple other things here. So Jen Garner sent me this. And what it shows is that Governor Cox met with this Mr. Wonderful guy. Let's see, I just saw it. Hold on. January 8th. No. What date was it on? Let's see. Yeah, January 8th. I'm not seeing it. Hold on. So if you look at his calendar, maybe this is, here we go. So this is Governor Cox. He met with Kevin O'Leary, that's Mr. Wonderful, in his office at 10:30 a.m. on January 8th, right? So then on January, I guess a few months later, he did a TV hit. Let's see, I'll find it for you. And you guys listen to what he says. I thought this was interesting. Also, this is a weird video because I guess this is him at home doing the interview, and then this is him on the screen. So I don't understand why he's standing, but okay.
And one of the reasons is I just got back last night from Utah. Now, when's the last time you went to Salt Lake City? I hadn't been there. I got invited.
I was a kid.
Well, I'm just giving you the news. I'm looking for new investment opportunities all the time. And I think one of the big themes coming into the next 2 years in terms of investing in job creation and investment is going to be around power. Everybody's been talking about power, and the administration is talking about power. And we all know the Chinese are killing us in creating faster power generation by a factor 4x. They're really kicking our butts. And some of the states like Utah are figuring that out. And so I went to meet the governor there, Cox, and the Senator Adams. They rolled out the red carpet for my entire team. I think they're doing that with a lot of investors. These guys get the joke. They're really going to accelerate policy in terms of getting permits. And so investors like me like to hear that. And that gives me a lot of optimism because those kinds of infrastructure plays are big dollars. We're talking billions. And so I've been saying this for quite a while. There's competition between states. There are winner states and there are loser states. I wouldn't be going to California to think about investing in infrastructure, and I wouldn't be going to New York. But there I am, see, in Utah. And so I'm optimistic that these states are starting to attract capital, create jobs. That's going to be the infrastructure spending that's going to buoy the economy. It's not just going to be technology. It's going to be power. And I like it, and I'm very optimistic.
Okay. So I thought that was interesting because he just talked about power and he didn't talk about anything else. Right? He didn't say that he came here to talk about a data center. So, like, interesting, leaving that out. Okay, next. Give me 1 second. So that's what I have about the data center piece of this. Next, I want to talk about pesticides. So last week, Congress voted on the food or the farm bill, and as part of that bill, Representative Luna, or Anna Paulina Luna, she actually she proposed an amendment to remove three sections of the farm bill, one of which could be interpreted to give a liability shield to chemical companies from being sued. And so let me pull that up for you so you can see which three it was. Just give me 1 second while I find it. Here we go. Okay. So here's what she took out, what got taken out. Sometimes it's hard for me to see. Okay. So these are it was this provision, 10205, uniformity of pesticide labeling requirements. And so this would have had the federal government uniformly requires certain types of labels across the country. The second one was the political should not impose any requirement related to sale. So this would have restricted states from banning pesticides within their state. And then the last one is where I think this could be interpreted as a liability shield. And it basically says that notwithstanding any other provision of law, the use, application, or discharge of a registered pesticide consistent with its labeling approved under this act shall be permitted and considered lawful without further permitting or approval requirements. And so that's saying, as long as you use the pesticide in the way that it has been approved, you will essentially, you're doing it lawfully, which means you won't be able to be held liable. Okay, this is a huge issue. There's continuing efforts in Congress to be able to give a liability shield, and this is really aimed at Bayer Monsanto, the developer of glyphosate. Or actually, I don't know if they're a developer, but at least they're the ones that sell it. And they're, for whatever reason, they're trying to protect them from any liability for causing cancer. And there are credible studies that show that there are people who have gotten cancer from glyphosate exposure. And I just think it's really interesting because Representative Luna actually proposed the amendment to remove those three provisions I just showed you. And as part of the MAHA, this is MAHA, people mobilized, and it ended up her amendment passed 280 to 142. So, I mean, this is a massive win. And what was kind of interesting about this is if you look at the count, it's mostly Democrats voting yes, and the minority of Republicans voted yes, and then it's mostly Republicans voting no with 6 Democrats voting no. So In terms of Utah, Celeste Malloy is one of the people that voted no on the amendment. So she voted to give the manufacturer of glyphosate essentially a liability shield. And I've been really puzzled by this because she's in a primary right now and her voting is horrible. She's not even moving to the right or trying to be responsive to citizens and to Utahns. But what's kind of fascinating is that some of her supporters are actually defending her votes, even though that they're bad. So like here, let me show you. I'll show you this because I think this is really fascinating. And this is this goes on my point about Republicans who are completely missing the boat and not understanding the issue. So here, I posted about this. Alexis Ents posted this thing defending Celeste's vote, right? So she voted to give a liability shield to chemical companies, and Alexis, who has kids, actually is supportive of Celeste and is willing to say, oh yeah, this vote makes sense. And I was like, I don't understand why it makes sense. So I posted saying, holy S. Supporting Celeste Malloy makes people have to sacrifice every principle because their votes are so bad. No company should ever get a liability shield for their products. That discourages them from ensuring their products are safe. They did that for the COVAX manufacturers, so the COVID vaccination. They ended up creating a dangerous product and now cannot be held liable for hurting and killing people. And so the quote is from, I think she says Shelley Pingree. And what she says, it preempts states' rights, which ought to be a Republican issue, to regulate pesticide usage or labeling, and provides a liability shield for pesticide manufacturers, Pingree said on the House floor. Put simply, this language puts chemical company profits over the health of Americans. I agree with this point. Now, Alexis's response was that I quoted a Democrat. And I'm like, okay, I haven't responded to her, but I was like, she said, you're quoting Democrats, not me. You won't catch me in a video with Brian King either, but comparing this to COVID vaccines, come on, false analogies and scare tactics won't work on me. And so 2 points. One is, MAHA is another bipartisan issue. There are issues where we agree. I don't really care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. If there are areas where we agree, we should work together to accomplish them. So on data centers, I am opposed to them. If there are other Democrats, I'm not a Democrat, but if there are Democrats that are opposed to them, I will work with them on that. I don't really care because the goal is to stop the data center. It's not to worry about every other issue where we disagree. And the same thing on MAHA. If you're going to come out and you're going to support not giving chemical companies liability shields, the fact that you're a Democrat is really irrelevant because you are helping with an issue that I care about. I'll give you an example that's actually Utah specific. I think it was 23 or 20, maybe it was 24, I can't remember. I worked with Anthony Lubay, so he's a state representative, on this bill about reporting child sex abuse when you learned about it. And as part of that, and so what we were trying to do is right now, clergy, and this is still true, clergy are not required to report when they learn about sex abuse in like a confessional type situation. And, like there's a lot of reasons why we should actually require them to report when that happens. Now, there's arguments on the other side, so it's complicated. So don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to simplify it. But when he proposed it, I went to him, I was like, this is the bill I'm looking for. I didn't get exactly what I wanted, but I got a huge improvement. We actually incentivized reporting. But part of it, I went and I talked to Angela Romero. She's a Democrat. And her and I disagree on a lot of issues, but we had a fantastic conversation. And she was actually very helpful. So why would I worry about the fact that she's a Democrat when I'm trying to accomplish something and she's on my side? Yeah, we don't agree on a lot of stuff, but we can work together where we can. Now I'll vigorously oppose you others when I disagree, but if we are in agreement, I'm 100% gonna work with you to get what I want to get done. Anyway, I guess now she's saying, and I think this is interesting, I'll show you this. Her latest response is, y'all might want to check out the roll call vote. Jeffries, AOC, Omar, and Pelosi all voted for this. But I guess if your post is quoting Democrats, maybe you're okay with that. Well, yeah, they voted right. Why wouldn't I be okay with that? They voted correctly in this situation, so of course I'm fine with it. This is, like this type of attitude is why we're gonna get blown out in the midterms. If you don't understand where people actually are on issues, you get blown out in the midterms. They are not where the kind of established Republicans are pushing us. The normal people are not for data centers. They're not for giving chemical companies liability shields. I don't think, therefore, we need a federal standard for labeling pesticides, because if you actually understand the issue, the federal government is essentially captured by industry. I don't know that it's different at the state level, but at least at the state levels, we may have a state where it's not captured, and they might be stricter with the types of labeling that's required on a pesticide, and I'm okay with that. I would prefer that, in fact, because I don't know that they're safe. I don't want to be spraying stuff in my yard if it's going to kill my dogs, if it's going to impact my neighbor's kids in a negative way, or impact my neighbors in a negative way. I'm not doing that. So yeah, I would like labeling. I'm okay with labeling that's not standard, because maybe Utah thinks we need to do more disclosures because we have a different environment and we need to consider that. Or maybe it impacts animals that we have here in Utah, but they don't have them in Virginia. Or maybe California says, hey, we want to be really strict because we're by the ocean. And then Utah says, hey, we have the Great Salt Lake. We don't want all this stuff running in the Salt Lake. So I think we just have to understand that there's actually a really good basis for having this be done at the state level. And if you're a Republican, you're actually supposed to be for states' rights. So why wouldn't you want this done at the state level? But anyway, the point being, Celeste Malloy, again, votes wrong. Now, I was thinking about it, and I thought, oh, maybe it's because she doesn't have kids, right? And so for her, it's not really like a personal issue, right? For me, but then I thought, well, I don't have kids either, and I would have voted for the amendment because I don't support giving pesticide companies any sort of liability shield. I don't support giving any company a liability shield. In fact, I think that the COVID vaccine manufacturers, their liability shields should be stripped. Oh, hey, okay, the video just popped. Let's see the video of the people booing. This sounds good. Let's see. Okay, here we go.
At this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. I would make a motion to adjourn. We have a motion to adjourn and a second. All in favor, say aye. At this time, I would
I think I've met some of these people before. Hold on. Okay. This lady right here, this one, I think I met her. I'm pretty sure I have. This was Nicholas Salt Lake.
all in favor, say aye.
No. Okay. I'm gonna stop sharing. Well, and here's what I'll say about it. If you're unhappy with it, there are 3 elections where you can have some sort of accountability for it, right? 2 of the county commissioners are up for election this year, so that's 1 election, or that's 2 seats where you can have. And then the third one is Stuart Adams, who's on the MIDA board and is in a primary. So, and in the case of Stuart Adams, if he wins his primary, I would actually say, I would honestly, if I lived in that district, I would not vote for him. I'd just leave it blank, because I don't like voting. I don't really want to vote for Democrats. So if there's a Republican I don't like, I just don't vote for them. That's my new policy. I use it in 24 and it worked very well for me. I felt very satisfied with my votes. So let's see here. I want to see if there's anything else, any other videos of that, because that is so fascinating. Okay, I'm not seeing anything else. Let's see. Okay, Box Elder exclaim. Oh, here. Eternal Saints posted a little longer video. Let's see what he's got. We'll have Brandy come on in a few minutes here. So let me just. Let's see.
For hell's sake, grow up. This is beyond a joke.
What are they saying? Yeah.
Point of order! This is our meeting. Point of order!
People over profit. Okay. Interesting. So people over profit. That's a pretty let me see. That's a pretty like a leftist little lefty there. Okay. Oh, you're listening to the Goud Crowd on KMMU, Main Street Media, Utah. We are live on X, YouTube, Rumble, and our website, kmmu.org. Like, share, and subscribe, and thank you for listening. Also, you can call in. It's 385-899, I think, 2134. Is that right? So you can kind of see it's a contentious meeting, right? That's how they should be, I think. I bet people, if you notice, there's people that are kind of quieter. I bet you those are more the locals, and that there's probably people that came from out of the area, which is understandable because of the size and the scope of the project. I also wonder if the rapid approval process is a problem when you think about it from the perspective of our, when you think about it from the perspective of development in other areas. It was interesting. I had one lady who kept responding to me saying, oh, well, I'm so tired of people from Salt Lake saying it doesn't create that many jobs. And I said it doesn't create that many jobs considering how much land it'll take up, how much water it will take up, how much noise it will create, and how much light pollution it will create. You kind of do have to make those types of balances, right? But like I said earlier, I think one of the biggest problems that rural areas have is that you have kind of these wealthier than the townspeople, like ranchers and stuff like that, who are allowed to import cheap labor instead of having to hire their locals. And so they just don't pay the wages that they should be paying for American workers, and it hurts those communities. But if you go and you talk to people from those communities, a lot of times they're supportive of the importation of cheap labor because they've been told repeatedly Americans don't want to do these jobs. And what I always say is, like I said last week, Americans don't want to do these jobs at the low wages that the employer wants to pay. The answer is not to let them import labor. It's actually to force them to raise wages. And when I say force, I mean don't let them import cheap labor and they will quickly raise wages. That's how that works. Labor shortages equal higher wages. Okay, next thing before we have Brandy on is, we kind of talked about this a little bit before, but today Nancy Mace posted that they actually got some of the records for the hush money payments that were made from Congress. Also, I guess Mr. Producer says that you can't call in today because his phone is not working. I thought that it comes through Restream for the calls. I guess not. Okay, so here's Nancy Mace's tweet about it. I don't think this is the full scope of everything that was settled with the fund. So they were able to get settlements worth $338,000. These records are all before, or are, I guess they'd be from 2005 to 2018. So that would be your time period. Everything before 2004 was destroyed. It's convenient. And then if you look here, you can kind of, and I don't even think most of these people are, I don't think any of these people are in Congress, which is why now it doesn't make any sense that Celeste Malloy and I think Mike Kennedy both voted to not release this information. Now I'm completely confused about what's going on and why this was hidden. So you can see here though, like the dollar amounts are actually pretty low for the settlement. I don't, and I'm going to add though, I don't even think this reflects the full amount, because the last time we talked about this, I showed you that article that said that John Conyers, who's on here twice, that he actually paid settlements out of his Congressional Budget Office fund. So I actually think they need to go in and audit all of those Congressional Budget Offices to see if anybody came in and they had, if they settled from those funds, right? Okay. Okay, give me 1 second. Oh, I did get, I guess, so Jen Garner says there's a 7-year backlog on turbines. Nothing can happen for a long while. Oh, interesting. Okay. So I guess even if this gets approved, there may be a delay. And then, like I said earlier, I think there's a financing issue as well. So it may never move forward, but they would have approved the MIDA, what could turn into really a land grab, which will, you know, like you do stuff like that in a place like Box Elder County, it'll change it forever. Okay. So anyway, so here are your dollar amounts for that period again. So 2004 to 2018 when it stopped. But I don't think this is the full thing, especially since they destroyed records. You really don't know what the full thing looks like at this point. So, okay. Oh, hold on one second. And then I want to pull up one other thing. Ooh, excuse me. Okay. Here. Let's try. Oh, here. Okay. And then here's the other piece from the Nancy Mace thing. So she said that they got 1,000 pages from their subpoena, but all records prior to 2004 are destroyed, like I said, and but they said they're gonna release the full pages once they see if all the PII of victims and witnesses were redacted. So that's good. And like I said, I don't think that these people on the list are actually still in Congress. And I guess here, though, is the settlement amount. So this person says there should be a hell of a lot more than 9 names. Please explain. So they're showing, yeah, that's true. They are showing a lot more here. So that's what I'm saying. I don't think that's the full data. I think that's partial. So they might have messed it. They might have actually altered the data to hide stuff from people. Interesting. Okay, let's see what else I have in my little tool book here. Kathleen Anderson has responded to the Box Elder County. See, she's pretty. If she can win this thing, I think she'll actually be a good county council member. She said, "You've been elected to represent your constituents. Many people have reached out to me about the Little Cottonwood Canyon gondola to see how I'd vote if elected to the Salt Lake County Council. My answer is simple. 80% of constituents oppose it. Therefore, I oppose it." Kind of easy, right? That's, I think, how you do it. Another angle.
For hell's sakes. For hell's sakes, grow up.
Oh, I love this.
This is beyond a joke. Be quiet, let our Can you be quiet and let our citizens hear what needs to be said, please?
You know, what I find is when you get down to these smaller counties, it's interesting because, like in Salt Lake County, we obviously have a lot of corruption going on. Yeah, because it's a big county with a lot of people in it. In the smaller counties, I feel like from what I've seen that they tend to be more captured by industry than you might find in like a Salt Lake County. Like in Salt Lake County, I think our council is more captured by Democrat interests. If you go up to like a rural county, they tend to be more captured by their business interests there, and they do vote for those interests. And then the local people all think that is how it should run, or at least the ones that are more politically connected. It's kind of interesting. At least that's been my observation when I've gone to these places. A little bit weird to me. Okay. It'll be interesting to see, though, if there's any ramifications when they're up for re-election. That's the key, right? If you go up for re-election and the people don't re-elect you, I'll be really impressed, because, like I said, no public comment to me is just, you should be done. We shouldn't be talking about this anymore. Okay, and then I thought this was like, let's listen. Here's Governor Cox talking about his views on people who oppose it.
We've let the people against virtually everything destroy our country, destroy our industrial base, destroy our mining base, destroy our housing base, because we can't build anything in this country anymore.
And so part of what I'm taking away from this is they want to override all local control over land use decisions. And that's what you got to take away from this. See, you talked about housing. They just want to build houses everywhere. And they don't want to get rid of the illegals, because he's good with them. His donors like hiring them. But if you come out to where I live, I'm in Riverton, and I live near Mountain View Corridor. I was driving down it this weekend, and I noticed there's high density housing being built on it. It's just everything south of me. There's tons of construction, and that's going to make my quality of life worse, because traffic here is getting worse. Like I said, it's just full of illegals, and I don't particularly care for that. But some people do, I guess. But it's only going to get worse.
Those days are over. We're done with that. We take feedback. We understand what people want. We say no to many things because there is good feedback, but we can't say no to everything. And this is in a place.
Really, the only thing you can't say no to is the stuff that they want. So high density housing and data centers everywhere. And by the way, I feel like him actually passing as being hetero, that's like a Utah thing. I think anywhere else people would be like, dude, that guy acts gay. That's what they
place where it's built for something like this. If you go out there, it's not next to somebody's house where people are going to get angry because it's in their neighborhood. It's right next to a natural gas pipeline, so they can build their own energy. It's not going to. It's just. I don't know, if you can't put this here, then we can't put them anywhere, and that's part of the frustration that I think people.
Hey, Brandy.
We've
Okay, we were just listening to our governor talk about why we have to build things build a data center in Utah.
A data center?
Yeah, they're going to build the world's largest data center in Box Elder County. So that's actually north of here, and it's like a less populated county, and they're going to build it on, I think, 62 square miles, and they're going to produce twice as much power as the entire state of Utah produces today. And apparently the county commission out there just approved it. There was a massive meeting. There's probably like hundreds of people there, and they didn't even allow public comment before they approved it.
Really?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
And what's everybody's feeling about it then?
I'm against it. I think most of the people at that meeting were against it. But I think, like you may have a difference in local people who maybe think they want the jobs, even though I don't think they'll get hired for the jobs.
Okay.
Because the construction companies here all are full of illegal aliens. And then the tech companies are always importing people. So.
Okay. All right.
So, and then they use lots of water, stuff like that.
I did not know anything about that. So.
Really?
No, I didn't hear anything, but we've got our own problems back home, Goud. So apparently problems haven't made its way here yet, but.
Well, you guys have more water though. So you have like Lake Michigan, right?
We do have a big lake.
Yeah.
This place is dump bodied, apparently.
Yeah, it's a little different. We have the Great Salt Lake that's like evaporating or whatever.
Oh, ours isn't evaporating, but I mean, there's a lot of dead fish in it and stuff. So, I mean, I don't know how safe it is. It's there. I think up by like Zion, they dump a bunch of medical stuff up there. So like you can like swim with some needles and stuff.
Oh, that's nice. That's what I always look for.
I'm writing the brochure for visiting Lake Michigan right now.
I don't think, growing up, I don't think I ever went to the beach in Chicago.
It's closed a lot. That's why, Goud. Like they always have like the bacteria thing, and then they close it.
Yeah.
That happens a lot.
Yeah, I've been to Indiana Dunes, been to Michigan Dunes, but never to the there's a beach in Chicago. I've literally never been to it.
You can go swim and everything, but it's hit or miss. I always question it because like one day it could be open and they're like, oh, it's safe to swim. And the next day they're like, too much bacteria. And I'm always like, yesterday it was okay. Like, it always confused me. Like, where does the bacteria go? Because then it comes back in a day or two and they're closed again. So I just elected just not to swim, I guess. And that's what I do. But I do have a back home with Brandy for you, so.
Okay, let's hear it. What do you got?
All right. So
before we start, can I tell you my good news?
Oh, what's your good news?
So I've been taking this class in the Guard, and this last weekend was my last class for that phase. I have to do one more phase, but the last phase is shorter. So it felt like getting like a master's degree. It was so much work.
Oh.
I had to like write all these papers.
Really?
And I'm kind of a procrastinator because I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I start like Monday and be like, okay, I'm gonna start working on this today. And then literally Friday night, I'm up until like 2 a.m. trying to finish stuff because I waited until the last day.
Oh. Yeah, I'm like the opposite. Like I'm right on this kind of stuff. So that's why when we were talking about doing this segment, I think it was like a week ago. I was like, I have a couple ideas if you need me.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I'm usually early into everything, so I don't like procrastinating. It causes me anxiety.
Okay, so we clearly were very different. Okay, let's see what you got. What warnings do you have from Illinois this week?
Well, it's not good, unfortunately, Goud. So I decided there was a lot of things we could have done, and I went with the somber one because I feel like we have to pay some tribute. But, I'm always big into the crime here. I'm always big into the policing here. I have a lot of friends that are police officers and stuff. And unfortunately, on April 25th, we lost an officer in Chicago, John Bartholomew. He was 38 years old and had a wife and 3 kids. Ooh. And what happened was, for those of you who don't know, is that he was shot actually at the Swedish hospital on the north side of Chicago. He was transporting a criminal who should have not been on the streets to the hospital because while the criminal was committing a crime, he then let officers know he was on a lot of drugs. So they have to take him to the hospital. And then when they uncuffed him to do a CT scan, he somehow had a gun hidden under his hospital bed blanket. And he shot 2 police officers, one in the head, one in the face, killing John Bartholomew, a 38-year-old police officer, and then also injuring a 57-year-old veteran police officer who was his partner, who's still in critical condition, and a nurse was injured in the incident. So why is everybody up in arms? I mean, it's bad. That's not good, but it all ties back to our favorite act here in Illinois, the Safety Act.
Okay.
Apparently, this guy has a huge rap sheet dating back to 2017 with lots of felony charges. He was currently out. He was detained for a carjacking and burglary, but he was let out of jail with an ankle monitor, which then stopped working in March, and nobody bothered to figure out why or where he was. And then he turned up again robbing a dollar store, which is then when police got involved. He said he was on drugs. They took him to the hospital, and he ended up killing a police officer. The reason he was released after the carjacking incident, despite having a huge rap sheet, and he's currently got 4 felony charges pending before this, now he's got 20 felony charges from this incident, was because a judge thought he was showing improvement in his behavior and released him with an ankle monitor, quoting the Safety Act. And I want to pay tribute to the people involved in this. One of the people is Alfonso Talley. He is the actual 26-year-old criminal who was out robbing the dollar store, who started all this with his huge rap sheet. And then the judge who let him out, let me find that judge's name, because I feel like we should name him. His name is Judge John Lyle, I believe is his name.
Okay.
And he's the one who let him out because he saw that he had improvement and he had grown. So then he let him on an ankle monitor, despite having a huge rap sheet because of the Safety Act, and it ended in the death of an officer and leaving 3 children without a father. So again, the Safety Act is in the news, which it often is because it seems to always lead to some sort of like incident, even though we're consistently told that it's actually protecting us better. And I'm a little confused. And if anyone wants to chime in and tell me how this is protecting us, I've yet to see how. Cashless, like there's no cash bail. Everyone gets let out. Everybody's awaiting trial. They lose everybody. And apparently even the ankle monitors eventually die. And nobody figures out where he was missing for 5 weeks. Nobody knew where he was when his ankle monitor died.
That is insane.
And then it led to an incident where he shot 2 people and injured a nurse in the scuffle.
Yeah, it's horrible. I mean, the human cost here is high.
Mm-hmm.
The policy doesn't even make sense. This is kind of that soft on crime policy, but then they call it the Safety Act.
Because it makes you safer, but we just can't tell you how or show you that.
Yeah, but it can. It's like a euphemism, right? It's that the name is not correct, and they can totally just like fool people into thinking this is a good idea by using a name that does not match what it's actually doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It makes it hard to argue. How could the Safety Act not lead to your safety?
Yeah, I know the Safety Act.
It's a little, it makes it a little confusing. And most people assume if something's called the Safety Act, it's going to actually make them safer. But in reality, we just keep ending up in the same position where these criminals are just running around and nobody's detaining them or holding them. And nobody can really understand. Like he has so many felonies and he was being held. He was being detained for the carjacking burglary. Why we would let him out, I don't understand. To me, carjacking is a pretty violent crime. Like usually that means you have a weapon, you're holding somebody against their will.
Yep.
It's not like a pickpocket or something like that.
Well, pickpocket also. I mean, let's say very personal.
They're touching your pocket, I guess, which I was laughing about because, like, I know Europe is having a huge problem with pickpockets, and they released some sort of statement asking the Americans to stop beating up their pickpocketers because apparently Americans beat the crap out of you when you pickpocket.
Oh my
them.
God. I was
like, well, that's kind of funny.
I got pickpocketed once in Europe when I was a kid. Yeah.
See, I guess now they're very bold. They just walk up and just take things out of your pocket, hoping that you don't react, because I think society's now telling people to not react. Like,
oh,
yeah.
Well, they'll come up and touch you, right? Because when it happened to me, so you kind of lose. Yes. You can't really tell. And then I remember with me, I had this. It's gonna be a really weird story, but maybe funny. I had Scrooge McDuck wallet.
DuckTales.
Yeah, and then I was like, oh my God, I lost my wallet. And then it was funny. We found it in the garbage. They just took the money and like left everything else in there and threw it in the garbage. And we're like, I don't know how we found it. We were like, oh my God, it's my wallet.
Well, I mean, I guess the DuckTales Scrooge McDuck wallet doesn't hold value to everybody. But I understand the value. My brother also was a Scrooge McDuck fan too.
Oh my God, that's really funny.
Similarities here.
Right?
I didn't
Okay.
mind DuckTales, but I watched a little more Gummy Bears, I guess, at the time.
DuckTales
But-
was good.
Anyway, so that was the main story I was also going to tell. Then we
Okay.
have one more story that
Okay.
has a
Before you-
happier ending.
Before we move on, the Fine Groiper has a comment. He says, surprise, surprise, lock them up and throw away the key. So
That's what we
tough on
should be
crime policies.
doing that, but as it's been explained to me, that makes you less safe somehow.
Yeah, nobody can actually logically show me how it makes me less safe, but it does.
I think that criminals are safer, right? Because they get to go home.
Are they safer, or should they actually be in jail because they have problems too? I mean, the guy was on drugs, so it's not like he's living his best life.
Probably not. And it's hard to say if he was even on drugs. They haven't released if that was true or not because, claiming you're on drugs gets you a free hospital trip instead of the jail. So it's hard to say if he could have been on drugs, not out of the realm of possibilities for somebody who's robbing a dollar store.
Yeah.
But it also could have been a way to detour jail and get the upper hand like he did when they uncuffed him for the CT scan. So it's hard to say of what his plan was.
Did they pat him down before they took him to the hospital and just missed the gun?
Somehow they did, yes. And somehow it ended up under a hospital blanket that nobody knew. So nobody is quite sure how it got in there. But it all might have been a ruse, knowing that he would get uncuffed for the CT machine and then he would have his chance. I don't know what his after plan was, I'm going to shoot a bunch of people. He did escape though, so I guess he did have an after plan. He escaped naked, is my understanding. He jumped through a window. But then they apprehended him shortly after because, he was found naked on somebody's porch. I feel like naked makes you stand out a little bit more.
I would think it would be hard to miss, right?
Yeah, so they did find him shortly afterwards. So I don't know if his master plan was to run away and find clothes.
Maybe he really was on drugs.
Yeah, or maybe he was on drugs. He did jump a window, so sometimes, you think you're Superman when you're on drugs.
Yep. Okay, so and then Disagree Butter says, now I have the gummy bear theme stuck in my head. Thanks a lot, Brandy.
Gummy bears. What is it? Something hopping everywhere. We are the gummy bears. Nobody else remembered it. And then DuckTales had DuckTales. Woo!
That one I know.
We laugh and play with DuckTales.
Okay.
This is what I will say. They wrote some catchy theme songs back in our day. I feel like these shows don't have any theme songs now, right?
I don't know. I don't watch cartoons. Shocking.
I don't think my daughter, any of the ones she watches, has a catchy theme song that I can remember.
Oh, interesting.
We always had these very long intros with these full theme songs.
Yep.
So it's now I know a whole bunch of theme songs as well as commercials from back in the day. And I don't think anybody knows these things.
The other thing is I always have to talk to my sister because I'll be reading something and come across there's some trans something and some cartoon or show, and then I'll have to be like,
Yes.
Pooja, you should not let them watch this show, right? There's something, or play this game. There's some weird thing. Can you go check and make sure they don't have access to it? It's once a week I have to contact her. I see her Seinfeld, yeah.
I was trying to be subtle, Goud. I guess it didn't work.
It did not work. So
well, now we're just with Brandy. It doesn't matter now where I'm at. I'm national now.
Disagree Butter says magic and mystery are part of their history, along with the secret of gummy berry juice.
See,
bouncing here and there and everywhere, high adventure. That's beyond compare. Oh, that I remember. Okay, but I don't remember the melody.
Yes, I remember them hopping. They were hopping across the screen because they were gummy bears. Apparently, that made them bouncy. It was a good lineup for after school, I will say.
Yeah, I don't know what it's like today, but okay, what do you got?
It's not the same because the kids don't rush home. We rushed home to watch these cartoons after school. Nobody rushes home to watch anything. You got your snack, you got your shows, and you watched some cartoons before you did your homework, and it's just and there's no Saturday morning cartoons either. So Like,
Is
there's
it
no
'cause they
reason to
look
get
on
up.
their phones?
Hmm?
Is it because they have phones?
Yeah, and I think it's just because everything's streaming and stuff now, and we didn't have any of that, so we had to like actually sit in front of the TV for a while. They don't have TGI Friday either. Like, there's no like Friday night family
Really?
like block that I know of that you go home and like watch.
Ah,
So yeah, like now it's everything's like Netflix, like Stranger Things and stuff caught on, but it's all like streaming shows and stuff that you don't rush to your TV to watch.
huh.
So,
Okay.
but anyways, that was a side note.
Yeah,
I was gonna
before we
say,
get there, on TV, do you know what the Skinwalker Ranch is?
what?
Okay, so it wasn't just
The Skinwalker?
yeah. Okay, so I think it's in Utah, maybe. It's some ranch, and I thought it was a place where they had prostitution, and it was a show about that. That's what I thought.
Oh, I
But
thought it was going to be like one of those body farms for dead bodies or something.
No, I think it's about Native American history or so. There's something to do with Native American stuff because I was
I
in
would
a
really rebrand
once
this.
brought it up. And they're like, "Oh, have you watched Skinwalker the Ken?" And I was like, so he started talking about it, and I was like, "That is not what I thought that was going to be about."
That's what, like, I really feel like they need to rework the title of the show, because if I thought it was about a body farm for dead bodies and you thought it was about prostitution, I feel like they've missed the mark, right? Like if we were the test subjects for this show.
Okay. So Mr. Producer says it's where the aliens live and met with the Native Americans. It's in Utah.
It's where the what do we mean, aliens? Is that what he said?
Yeah, and they met with the Native Americans.
So when we say aliens, are we talking about aliens from space or like illegal aliens?
The latter is more realistic.
I don't know, Goud.
So
No, it's
Cass,
not
Cass
the
is
aliens
listening.
from
Cass
space.
says Skinwalker is about the aliens back in the basin. I think he's talking about the Uinta Basin, I think. Oh, the Skinwalker Ranch is in the Uinta Basin? Okay, that. And then Mr. Producer says Skinwalker Ranch, located in Utah's Uinta Basin, is a 512-acre property renowned for decades of reported UFO sightings, animal mutilations, and paranormal phenomena.
See, it was the aliens from space.
Yeah.
It still doesn't make a whole lot of sense. They met with the Native Americans. Is this like how we had Thanksgiving because the Pilgrims met with them?
It's the true Thanksgiving.
It's when the aliens came down and met.
The original
When do we
Thanksgiving.
celebrate this one?
I am telling you that in my head, every time people said it, I was like, "Oh, there must be talking about something. Maybe like prostitution place."
Skinwalker Ranch.
Totally not what I expected.
No, that is a really unappealing name. Why do they just call it Native Americans Meet Aliens? That would have been better.
That sounds like a TV show or a video game.
Well, that would be a fun video game, right? You could choose to like fight each other.
Skinwalkers is what the Native Americans called the aliens. That's what the name is.
It's what the Native Americans called who?
Aliens. You'll have to ask your mom about it.
I'll see if she knows anything about when the Native Americans hung out with the aliens.
Yeah,
What time was this?
I don't know, but you can report back to us.
Is it before we came? They were hanging out with aliens?
Probably.
Because if they're the original colonizers, that's not fair.
Or
Just
maybe that's what. Maybe when they first met the white man, they were like, "Oh, you must be an alien."
Yeah. You're
I've
a
never seen one.
skinwalker. You're a skinwalker.
Yeah.
Did this happen down in New Mexico, like Roswell?
No, the Uinta Basin. So it's in Utah. It's actually in. It's like east of where I live, like east and a little bit south, and it would be like an hour and a half away.
So if you go there today, is there something there?
There's a ranch, a 512-acre ranch.
Is there Native Americans or aliens on this ranch?
I guess so, yeah. If you ever come out here, we'll go and we'll check it out.
Are they living together on this ranch?
I don't know.
I'm so confused. Why is nobody else confused? Like, if people are acting like this is normal?
Well, in the discussions, I was the only person who had ever seen it, and so I just was when they said it, I literally was like, "Oh, they're talking about prostitution," and they described it, and I was like, "Wow, that is not where I thought
Well,
this
you
was
know,
going."
Goud, your theory could still be right. There's nothing like there could be alien prostitutes. Who's to
Oh,
say prostitution is just a human thing? Maybe aliens
well,
dabbled in it too.
Mr. Producer says there was a whole series on Netflix about it, so I guess maybe I need to check out this Netflix series.
About it, what was it also called the Skinwalking Ranch?
Skinwalker Ranch. Yeah.
Skinwalker.
Yeah.
This is taking a turn I had not expected and need to go research. No idea what's going
Okay.
on.
You gotta do your second one. We want.
Oh, my second one's
8 minutes.
sad, happy news. We're gonna call this happy news because it relates back to Illinois again. But apparently, we had somebody here named Eric Giovanni Corvora from Guatemala. He had been here since 2002, living here illegally. This is a different kind of illegal alien, so he's probably not on the Skinwalker Ranch. But he had a bunch of convictions. One of them for aggravated battery with a firearm that he was supposed to do 16 years for. And then he also has a 2025 aggravated sexual abuse of a child that he got convicted to do 3 years for. And then Pritzker decided, let's just let him outside because that's the place to put people convicted of stuff. And ICE asked Pritzker not to and said, can you detain him? We would like to take him. And they refused. And then he was escaped and was missing for a bit. But the good news is ICE did catch him recently on a traffic stop where he tried to flee. And they were able to detain him. And it looks like he is going to be sent back.
Well, that is good news.
Why my governor wants so badly to have criminals on the street? I don't get it. He just got convicted of aggravated sexual assault of a child. Like, why are we putting him back out there? I don't get it. Why you want to hand him over to ICE? It proves that like it has nothing to do. Like this is just all politics. Because why you want to give someone who abuses children back to ICE to send them back to Guatemala makes no sense to me.
No, it's not even political. It's because they hate you.
Oh,
it's
okay.
Like, they hate Americans, and so they're going to do stuff like that because the goal is to replace us, right?
With child sex predators?
Or with anything.
Oh my goodness!
They don't care what it is. They just want to. If they could kill Americans, they would do it. I'm convinced of that. No one can convince me otherwise.
What's the master plan though? Because I just got my tax bill this week, and yet again it has gone up. And I was adding up. My taxes have gone up over $2,000 in the last 4 years.
Oh my God, Jesus!
Yes, and it just went up $500 more. My mortgage payment in the last 4 years has gone up $400 a month. It's averaging out about $100 a year.
Wow.
So, but if Pritzker replaces me with child sex predators, are they paying these taxes? Because he's sure taxing the hell out of all the people who live here. Who's going to pay for Illinois if I'm replaced with child sex?
Well, we're basically already there, right? Where law-abiding Americans, you have to work, you have to pay your taxes, and then we have millions of people that immigrate here. They're getting welfare. They're not working. They're committing fraud. We are basically ATM machines for foreigners. And then,
but if we keep getting murdered, what's the plan if we all keep getting murdered?
I don't think they care.
But who's going to pay though? Eventually, you run out of people paying.
Right.
All the people who want to kill you, kill all the good people working. Where's the money coming from? You need me to go to work. If I get murdered, who's paying my property taxes?
Right?
Like you actually kind of need me around. So like it benefits you if I don't get murdered somehow, right?
Yeah, at least for a few more years.
Like who's funding everything if we're all killed? Like
well, deficit spending. They're going crazy with the deficit spending. I said earlier in the show, I think we're heading into like the economic situation is not getting better. No. I don't think the gas prices have helped because I don't know what they are by you, but I just paid more than $4 a gallon for gas, which is outrageous.
I paid $4.95. And the reason I paid $4.95 because it was $4.99 the other day. And when I saw it go down to $4.95, I got excited. True story.
And the thing is like again, I was talking earlier about this. A lot of Republicans are not understanding. You cannot tell people, oh, this will be worth it in the long run because Iran, I guess at some point will win this war against them, and then gas prices will go down. People are like, I'm suffering now, today.
Yeah.
You said you would get gas prices go down. You actually, he was successful. Gas prices were falling.
Oh,
and
we
the
were
whole
like,
thing was reversed.
I think we were just slightly over $2 at one point, which for us that's low to even get around $2. And now we're gonna pass 5. It looks like.
Yeah, I think you will. I think we might too. It just keeps going up and up. There's no end in sight for this war in Iran. It just seems like it keeps escalating.
Yes, I thought it would be a little quicker. I did think it would be a little quicker.
Yeah, when he said it, I was like, oh, okay. But clearly, they're obviously a little bit more tenacious than what we expected. So, yeah, to their credit, I guess.
They are terrorists.
Yeah. Well, and they figured out
terrorists.
Well, I didn't really understand like where their leverage was. The leverage is over that strait, right? They understood what they had to do in order to get us in this pickle that we're in. So. The fine Groiper says, "Stop being logical, LOL." I had to learn what a Groiper was recently because I had this guy commenting. And somebody said that someone that's very to the right wing. Although I think I'm pretty conservative, so I'm not really sure. I'm sure we disagree on something. I don't know what though.
Yeah, I don't know what I am because all the labels change. I mean, right now I'm probably considered like super conservative, alt-right, whatever, racist and homophobic and all the words that you call me.
Aren't we all?
I know, like, but I feel like I'm not. I feel like I'm Roseanne Barr. That's what I feel like when you see her interviewed, and she's like, nothing. Like I didn't change. You guys all changed. Like it's not me. And I'm like, I think I've got more in common with Roseanne Barr now than I do with politicians. So,
well, I feel there are areas where I totally am not in line with the Republican Party at all, like on the data centers, on releasing the sexual or the hush money payments that Congress did, and on their budgeting. There's a lot of things where I actually don't agree with them. It's not that I agree with Democrats necessarily, although on the data centers, it just happens that there's a lot of conservatives that agree with liberals on it. And I think it's more of like a grassroots thing, right? Where normal people are feeling a particular way and the elected officials are not on board with that. And they're going, I think, doing more what their donors want.
Yeah, I don't care for that. So I'm starting to just not like politicians in general, I guess. So and
that's the way to go.
This works.
That's the way to go.
That's what should be uniting all of us, both sides, is that the politicians kind of they're not good to us. Nobody's fighting for us. We've got these we don't have term limits when we should. And we've got people like Pelosi and all the others, like whether you're Republican or Democratic, who are there forever, making so much money. And my understanding is politicians shouldn't make that much money. Like you're supposed to be serving the people, not getting rich. And then they all get rich, and then they lecture us about how we should hate rich people. But it's like, you are rich people. I don't feel like when Dami's on TV standing outside rich people's like apartments in New York, calling them out for having a penthouse, but he literally has a penthouse that his parents gave him. And he's a billionaire, and his parents made billions off of capitalism that he doesn't even really had to have a job ever. Yet then he's doxing out other people where they live. I don't get, but you're all rich. The only people who aren't rich is us.
The normal people.
Yes, like
actually work. Like,
look at them all.
Yep, I'm with you 100%. I struggle with this all the time because I'm like, I have to like run my business. I have to make a living, and then I have to pay all these taxes so that people who don't work, who just got here, and apparently aren't even productive, now I have to pay for them too. And then, and I have to give them food stamps. So not only do they have, they can't just buy the raw food to then go home and cook. They need to also be able to go to the fast food restaurants and get the junk food, like everything that I don't even do.
7-Eleven.
Yeah, I don't do it, and I make my own money. but they do it with my money.
It's well, and then like I was reading how much like Pritzker spent of his own money in his last campaign, and it was something like $350 million to win the last governor election.
Wow.
And that he spent of his own money. And it's like, that's the problem though. It's like, how would anybody like you run against Pritzker? He's got $350 million. Like,
Oh, yeah,
how
totally.
does anybody normal with good ideas? The only people who can run against him are other billionaires and millionaires.
Yep.
So our pool of politicians are all rich people because poor people like us don't have 3 million or 350 million to run against Pritzker. I can't make an ad where I'm showing off my new skinny Ozempic body and telling everybody that I'm going to lower their taxes. Like, I couldn't afford to do that. I would have to hand out, like, look at my back home of Brandy sign. It's paper that fell.
It fell. Okay. On that note, we are at time. So it has been a pleasure, Brandy. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I didn't get to, I was going to taunt Alex. I didn't get a chance to taunt him.
Oh, you can quickly taunt him if you want. Go for it.
Oh, okay. Let me get the character. You made a lot of promises to the B-Man. Promises you didn't keep, Alex. I play the rules, but you don't play by different rules. You got to get your grandstanding and your hot dogging. I don't even know what hot dogging means. Don't ya? You don't stand to watch the champion in action, and it's going to be me. That was my wrestling tribute from Randy Man and Hulk Hogan, but that was my way of saying, Alex, where are you?
Okay, I believe that's a debate.
Debate, Alex. Get your whippy, scrawny butt up here.
Okay, on that note.
Scene.
Okay, on that note, thank you all for listening. This is the Goud Crowd. We're on every Monday from 5 to 7 p.m. We just had Back Home with Brandy, and on.